My name is Rachel Merrin. I used to believe that hard work was enough, that if you showed up, kept your head down, met your deadlines, and stayed loyal, life would reward you. I was wrong. I met Ben Hartley on my third day at Axiom Dynamics, a mid-size software firm nestled in the glass and chrome part of downtown Chicago. He walked in late to a team meeting, holding a $7 latte and smiling like he'd just won something. And maybe he had. Ben was everything people like to see: charismatic, well-dressed, confident in a way that read as leadership even when it masked pure incompetence. Where I saw risk, he saw opportunity. Where I planned strategy, he pitched slogans. And where I kept the team alive behind the scenes, Ben took the credit with a grin and a perfectly timed joke. At first, I didn't mind. Let him talk. Let him smile. Let him shine. Because at the end of the day, when something needed fixing, it came to me. When code broke, when a client panicked, when the CTO needed real numbers, I was the one they turned to. But no one remembered the person behind the curtain, just the man holding the mic. For 2 years I built that department from the ground up, late nights, weekend calls, until finally, the promotion came up. Director of Product Operations. My boss called me into her office. She smiled warmly, complimented my work ethic, my consistency, my loyalty to the company. And then she said, "We're going with Ben. He just has more presence." Presence. That word hit harder than I thought it would. I nodded. I thanked her. I left with a smile I had learned to wear like armor. Then I went home, poured myself a glass of wine, and opened a blank document on my laptop. And that night, I started quietly dismantling everything Ben had built. Ben's first week as director was exactly what I expected. Showmanship without structure. He changed the Slack logo to a cheesy inspirational quote. Scheduled, mandatory brainstorm breakfasts. That started with him talking about his golf swing. And worst of all, he started speaking for me. Literally. Emails I had written were now being forwarded from his address. Clients I managed were suddenly rerouted through him. And every meeting he opened with, "My team and I have been working on this," while glancing at me like I was just another analyst in the room. I didn't say a word. I watched, took notes, collected timelines. And then, I started setting the trap. The first move was subtle. Ben wasn't big on documentation. He liked to wing it. So I began forwarding key client emails to a private archive. Not dramatic. Just efficient. I also began blind, copying myself on everything. Then came the innocent errors. A product feature Ben promised but never scoped. I forgot to correct him during the meeting, until the client followed up in writing. A metric Ben quoted in front of the VP that didn't exist. I let it hang in the air. Just long enough for someone to ask, "Wait, where did you pull that from?" I wasn't sabotaging him. I was removing the safety net I had built for 2 years under his feet, letting him fall on ground that had always been there. He just never noticed it because I made it soft. But the moment I knew it was working, the quarterly review, Ben gave a 20-minute presentation on our roadmap. It was vague, flashy, full of words like synergy and market penetration, but no timelines, no metrics, no results. When the VP of Operations asked for the API integration status, Ben stammered. "We're close," he said. "Rachel and we've been finalizing that." The VP turned to me. "Is that true?" I smiled. Calm, professional. "Actually, that deliverable was finished 3 weeks ago. I sent the report to your assistant. Maybe it didn't reach you." Ben blinked. The VP nodded. "Can you send it again? To me directly?" "Of course," I said. Ben didn't speak for the rest of the meeting. That was the first crack. It wasn't loud. It wasn't explosive. But it was visible. People noticed. And when people start noticing, the fall becomes inevitable. After the quarterly review, things began to shift. Not overnight, not publicly, but unmistakably. People stopped going to Ben for answers. They came to me. At first, it was just the engineers. A Slack DM here, a quiet hallway question there. "Hey Rachel, do you know if that API endpoint is still version 2.1, or did Ben mean 3.0? Rachel, can we get your eyes on the pitch deck? His numbers seem off." Then it was product, then client success, and finally, even the VP's assistant began emailing me directly. Ben didn't realize it yet, but he wasn't leading anymore. He was posing. And I was letting him. Because the bigger the ego, the harder the fall. Step 2 was isolating him. I didn't gossip, didn't vent, didn't even let my tone change when talking about him. Instead, I planted seeds of doubt, wrapped in logic. When asked about timelines, I replied with, "You might want to double check with Ben. He's taken the lead on that now." When asked about a client complaint, "I flagged that for Ben last week. Maybe there's been a delay." No judgment. No emotion. Just facts, documented facts, and the facts began to turn on him. Ben, of course, sensed something. He started micromanaging meetings he didn't understand, scheduled pointless check-ins with me, asking if I was on board with his vision. He even began showing up early to the office, him the guy who used to stroll in at 10:30 with coffee and cologne. But it was too late. Because now, when he opened his mouth, no one listened. When he led a call, the energy dropped. And when he made a mistake, I didn't cover for him. That silence, it was louder than any accusation. Then came the final push. A major client, one we'd nurtured for 2 years, threatened to pull their contract after Ben botched a renewal call. They asked for me, specifically, to handle the damage control. In the recap meeting, the VP asked, casually, "Rachel, if you had led this renewal from the start, would we be in this situation?" I looked at her, then, at Ben, and I said, softly, "I think our team does best when we play to our actual strengths." Silence. Then a nod. And in that moment, I knew the fall had begun. Ben was unraveling, and the most dangerous part. He had no idea I was the one pulling the threads. After the renewal fiasco, leadership started keeping records. Performance audits. Project trackers. Efficiency syncs that were really silent interrogations. Ben started blaming the team for delays, started throwing around phrases like lack of clarity and breakdowns in communication. What he didn't realize was clarity was the very thing I had mastered. The CTO called me in one morning, alone. He leaned back in his chair, brows pinched. "Rachel, we've got some discrepancies in Ben's reporting. Dates don't match. Forecasts are skewed. You've been closer to the data than anyone. What do you see?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult Ben. I simply opened my personal archive, timestamped emails, raw data, task breakdowns, and slid a neatly organized folder across the table. "Everything's in here, feel free to verify." The CTO looked down, then back at me. "Thank you. We'll take it from here." Ben's next team meeting was quiet. The usual smirk was gone, no jokes, no chest thumping, no buzzwords, just awkward pauses and overly rehearsed optimism. But the team wasn't buying it. Because by now, they all knew what I knew: Ben had never been the engine, he was just the hood ornament. And when you pop the hood and find nothing underneath, well, people start walking. By Friday, 2 key engineers asked to move under my project group. Client success requested I sit in on all strategic calls, and the board had requested quiet review of Ben's last 6 months of leadership. Then it happened, an emergency meeting, just me, Ben, HR, and the CTO. Ben walked in late again, hair messy, collar askew, eyes full of quiet panic. The CTO didn't waste time. "Ben, your role as director is under review. There are inconsistencies in reporting, client dissatisfaction, and leadership concerns." Ben looked at me, not with anger, with confusion, like he still believed I would jump in and rescue him. I didn't flinch. Not this time. He tried to spin it. "This is just growing pains. I inherited a messy system. Rachel can back me up, right?" I met his eyes. Calm, steady. "I documented every project I supported. If something's unclear, the records will show it." HR nodded. "They already have." That was it. They didn't fire him, not yet. But they stripped him from decision-making, from budget authority, from oversight. He still had the title, but now I had the power, and the look on his face when he realized it, that quiet, crumbling realization, that was the beginning of my closure. The Monday after the emergency meeting, Ben showed up early, earlier than anyone had ever seen. No laddie, no tailored blazer, just a pale button up and the look of a man walking into a room where the walls had already started closing in. He hovered by my desk, silent, waiting. I didn't offer him anything, not even eye contact. "Can we talk?" he finally asked. I looked up. Not cold, just detached. "Conference room, 5 minutes." We sat across from each other. The blinds were down. The city hummed behind the glass. For the first time in years, Ben didn't fill the silence, so I did. "You're not here to apologize. You're here because you finally realized I wasn't decoration." He blinked, swallowed. "Rachel, I didn't know they were reviewing me. You could have warned me." I tilted my head. "Like the way you warned me when you pitched my work as your own." We were a team, I thought. "No, Ben. You thought I wouldn't say anything. You thought I'd keep carrying the load so you could shine." His face shifted. "You've always had this chip on your shoulder." "No. I had facts. And you had charm. One of those things doesn't last." He looked away. And for a moment, the mask cracked. "I didn't ask for any of this to happen." I leaned forward. "But you took it when it came, didn't you?" Silence. Do you even remember the last project you led without me fixing something behind you? He didn't answer. Because we both knew the answer, I stood up. Straightened my blazer. This isn't revenge, Ben. It's reality catching up. So what now? He asked quietly. Now, you step aside, or they'll push you. He scoffed. You think they'll just hand it to you? I smiled. The kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. They already have. They're just waiting for the paperwork. When I left the room, I didn't feel victorious. I felt clear. For the first time in years, I wasn't cleaning up after someone else's mess. I was making room for my own future, and burning the mask that had kept me invisible for so long. Ben stayed seated in that room for a long time. No one checked on him. No one needed to, because he finally understood. The silence he used to dismiss me was never weakness, it was power, stored, measured, and now, released. 3 days after the conversation with Ben, the email arrived. Subject: Director Transition Plan from Office of the CTO to Rachel A. We're officially offering you the role. Let us know how you'd like to proceed. It wasn't a surprise. By then, the board had already met with me. HR had started onboarding a new assistant, for me. And Ben, he was moved to an advisory role, temporary, symbolic, powerless. But I didn't respond to the offer right away. I sat on it. Because something was wrong. Not with the offer, but with everything that came before it. How had someone like Ben risen so far so fast? Why had my silence been mistaken for incompetence? How many other women, like me, were cleaning up messes in the background and getting left out of the photo? It wasn't enough to win. I needed to change the system that let me be invisible in the first place. So I set a meeting with the CTO, and I laid it all out, not with anger, not with accusations, but with clarity. I showed him 2 years' worth of task logs, contribution charts, and reporting patterns. I brought receipts, literal and metaphorical. And then I said, if you want me to lead, I'll accept. But I won't be another Ben in a better suit. What does that mean? He asked. It means I don't just want a title. I want authority to restructure how this place measures contribution. He leaned back, intrigued. Go on. We need audit trails for team inputs, blind reviews for key promotions, and most importantly, no more rewarding volume over value. He studied me, then smiled. Rachel, you're not asking for a seat at the table. You're rebuilding the damn table. Exactly. By the end of that week, I became the new director of product strategy, but more than that, I became a mirror for the company. Every policy Ben once exploited, I rewrote it. Every meeting he once dominated, I transformed it into collaboration. And every young, underestimated employee who sat quiet in the corner, I invited them in. On Ben's last day, he walked past my office, paused at the doorway, and said, You win. I didn't look up from my screen. This was never a game. That's why you lost. He left without another word, and I got back to work. That's how revenge really works. Not with shouting, not with humiliation, but with the quiet reclaiming of everything they said you'd never have. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It isn't even seen. It's the ripple of a whisper that becomes a storm. A legacy built on dignity, not destruction. If you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or sidelined, let this be your sign. Your silence does not mean weakness. It means they didn't know what power looked like when it wasn't wearing a smile. Let us know in the comments. Have you ever been the Rachel in your story? Like this video if you felt the shift, share it with someone who needs this strength, and subscribe to Reddit Revenge Hub, where justice might be quiet, but never invisible. It started with a call from IT. Hey Rachel, we're flagging some irregular access attempts to your internal files. From a location in the building. I froze. What files? Quarterly budget proposals. Strategic hiring plans. Internal review drafts. Someone's digging deep. The next morning, the first leak hit, a Reddit post, anonymous. Inside Axiom Dynamics, the toxic rise of a perfect director. It accused me of unethical promotions, playing favorites, and manipulating review processes for personal gain. The language was calculated, not dramatic, but strategic, like it was written by someone who understood how corporate storytelling worked, and someone who knew exactly what I had been building. I confronted legal, PR, the CTO. They believed me, for now. But I saw the shift, doubt, second guessing, exactly what Ben needed. 3 days later, a fake email chain was leaked to the board. It showed me colluding with a vendor. The documents were doctored, but sophisticated, clean enough to cast shadows, messy enough to spark an investigation. I knew immediately, this is Ben. He hadn't gone quietly. He'd gone quietly dangerous. I tracked him down. Private office. consulting gig. Some boutique startup he claimed he was advising. I walked in, no warning, just cold eye contact. This is how you want to go down, with lies. He leaned back, calm, smug. I don't lie, Rachel. I just tell stories better than you. You forged internal documents. Allegedly. He smiled. Then he added something that hit like a hammer. They let you win because they were tired of hearing from me. Not because they believed in you. My jaw clenched. He leaned forward. You thought you were playing chess. But I'm building the board. I left without a word. But that night, I didn't drink. I didn't panic. I opened a blank document, and I started again, because now, this wasn't just revenge. This was war. Sometimes when you dethrone the king, you forget one thing. Kings have allies. Kings have plans. And some kings, they don't fight fair. Ben underestimated one thing. I don't raise my voice. I raise evidence. And I was done playing fair. Step 1: find the rot. I started tracing the leaks. They didn't come from outside. They came from someone with limited but convenient clearance. Someone hired by Ben's startup after he left. A junior dev. Bright. Knave. Easily impressed. I invited her for coffee. And I told her the truth about the forged emails. About how Ben's mentorship was really manipulation. She didn't say a word, but her hands shook. 3 hours later, she sent me a full log of access attempts from her device, with Ben's instructions attached. Step 2: trigger the trap. I didn't send it to HR. I didn't go to PR. I sent it straight to the internal audit board, with a single message. Please find attached the source of the leaks, and the person who engineered them. I trust you'll know what to do next. I signed it simply Rachel A., Director of Product Strategy. That same evening, I received a reply. We're launching a full investigation immediately. Thank you for your integrity. Step 3: end it publicly. At the quarterly town hall I asked to speak last. I walked onto the stage, simple blazer, calm tone, no theatrics. And I said, transparency matters, so does reputation, and lately, mine's been tested by whispers and forged shadows. Let me make this simple. I will never apologize for leading with facts. I will never hide because someone couldn't earn their position cleanly. And I will not step down because someone louder tried to write over the truth. I paused, then added, the people who tried to damage this company from outside are being handled, internally, legally, permanently. There was silence, then applause, then standing applause, not for my title, but for the fact that I didn't bend. The aftermath: Ben, he's currently under review for corporate fraud. His startup lost half its funding. His name, once trending in boardrooms, is now a warning in legal slideshows. As for me, I didn't celebrate. I rewrote the code of conduct for promotions. I implemented whistleblower protections. I started mentorship programs. For the quiet ones. The underestimated ones. The future Ben tried to steal. I gave it away. To those who deserved it. Reddit Revenge Hub: moral revenge isn't always a knife. Sometimes, it's a mirror, and when you hold that mirror up to a liar, you don't need to scream, you just let everyone see who they really are. Comment below. Have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do? What did you do next? Stay silent or fight back? Like if this gave you chills, share it with the quiet fighter in your life. And don't forget to subscribe to Reddit Revenge Hub, where we turn betrayal into balance and silence into strength.